Welcome. In the world of diamonds, we all know the 4 C's are just the starting point, right? They're the foundation. Today, we're going past that to master the final, critical detail that really defines a diamond's finish, and that is its polish. So let me ask you this. You've seen it, I've seen it. Two diamonds, they look identical on paper. Same color, same clarity, same cut grade. But when you put them side by side, one just has more life. It just pops. So what is that? What's that hidden factor separating a perfectly good diamond from a truly exceptional one? Well, it all comes down to the finish. It's that final 1%, the polish. This is the last, and you could argue one of the most critical steps that determines how perfect a diamond's surface is and ultimately how it plays with light. This is where you can really see the signature of a master craftsman. Okay, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's establish a baseline. We need to be on the same page with a precise gemological definition. When we talk about polish, what are we really talking about? The easiest way to think about it is this. Polish is the skin of the diamond, and it is absolutely crucial to remember that we are not talking about internal features, the inclusions. That's clarity. Polish is exclusively about the condition of the surface, its smoothness, and any tiny marks left behind from its creation.
Now, when we're looking for polish defects with a loupe, they pretty much fall into 3 main buckets. First, you have the marks caused by the polisher during the actual cutting and finishing process. Second, some marks might be left intentionally or are just unavoidable. And third, you've got the damage that happens after the diamond is finished and out in the world. Knowing where a mark comes from is the key to identifying it correctly.
All right, so grab your loupe, let's get practical. We are about to walk through the 10 specific polish features that you absolutely have to be able to identify. Think of this as your professional checklist. First on our list is abrasion. What you're looking for here is a fuzzy, kind of worn-down look. It almost looks like a tiny bit of frosted glass, and you'll find it right on the sharp junctions where facets meet. This is classic post-wear damage, usually from the diamond just bumping against other hard surfaces over time. Next up, we have nicks. Now, these are essentially tiny chips, but here's the key differentiator: their location. A nick is always found at a facet junction, along the girdle edge or on the culate. You will never find a nick on the flat plane of a facet. It's a small detail, but for grading, it's a critical one. A pit, well, it's exactly what it sounds like: a tiny little hole on the surface of a facet. Often, it's just the pinpoint opening of a crystal inclusion that was right at the surface and got polished away. The good news here? Very small pits can usually be removed with just a light repolish, which is great. But this brings us to a really important line in the sand for any grader. If that little surface opening is deep enough that it actually goes into the stone, well, it's no longer a pit. It gets reclassified as a cavity, and that makes it a clarity feature, not a polish feature. Making that call correctly is a huge deal. Okay, polish lines. These are a direct fingerprint from the manufacturing process. They show up as superfine, often parallel grooves, or maybe faint white lines that were left by the polishing wheel. You often have to rock and tilt the stone, catch the light just right to even spot them. Now, this is what happens when things get too hot. A burn mark looks like a hazy, whitish, or sometimes even brownish area on a facet. It's caused by the polishing wheel overheating during the process. And let me be very clear, this is not something you can just clean off. It's permanent surface damage. A scratch is a fine line on the surface, but unlike polish lines, it's almost always post-manufacturing damage. So how does it happen? Usually, it's from a finished diamond coming into contact with another diamond, maybe in a parcel or during handling. That's really the only thing hard enough to do it. Lizard skin. You won't forget that name, and you won't forget what it looks like either. It's this bumpy, kind of wavy texture you can see. This is a classic, dead giveaway that the polisher was working against the diamond's natural crystallographic grain, a clear technical mistake. So even if a girdle is fully faceted, it can still be graded as rough. This happens if the surface itself is grainy or wavy or just poorly finished. And this isn't just about looks. A rough girdle can actually cause problems with the diamond's stability when it's being set into jewelry. I find this one fascinating. It's like a little piece of the diamond's modern history. So before cutting, most rough diamonds are mapped by laser, right? Well, sometimes very faint lines from that laser mapping process get left behind. You'll usually spot them on any small, unpolished, natural surfaces that were preserved, typically near the girdle. And finally, number 10, dop burn. This is a very specific type of burn mark. and its location is the forensic clue. It's caused by heat transferring from the metal dop, that's the holder, that grips the diamond during polishing. So you're going to find these marks right near the pavilion facets.
Okay, so we've identified all the potential features. We know what to look for. Now for the big question. How do these observations actually add up to that final polish grade you see on a lab report? Let's take a look at how that call is officially made.
This is it. The single most important rule in grading polish, the one you can't forget, is this. The final grade is determined only by what is visible from the face-up view looking down through the table under 10x magnification. You could have a pretty noticeable polish mark on the pavilion, but if it's invisible from the top, it doesn't affect the grade, period.
And here's how it all breaks down on the official scale. For an excellent grade, any features have to be incredibly difficult to find, even for a trained grader. When you get into very good and good, you can see some minor marks under magnification, but they really don't impact the stone's overall beauty. It's only when you hit fair and poor that the flaws become obvious enough to actually start reducing the brilliance, with poor being visible even to the naked eye.
Okay, that was a lot of technical detail, I know. So let's zoom out. Why does mastering all of this actually matter for you? Whether you're a trader, a retailer, or a serious buyer, what's the bottom line?
Well, because this knowledge translates directly into confidence. It means you can grade, sell, and buy knowing you haven't missed anything. It lets you build incredible trust with clients because you can clearly explain the nuances of surface quality. Honestly, it just showcases true gemological expertise. And at the end of the day, it's about making sure every single diamond is understood and appreciated for its maximum potential. So, from now on, when you look at a diamond, I hope you see more than just sparkle. You'll see the story written on its surface. You now have the expert eye to spot the faint polish lines, to correctly identify a nick versus a pit, to see the telltale signs of a burn mark. You're not just looking at a stone, you're reading the signature of the craftsman.